What the plaintiff's attorney is going to do is be like, I don't actually think so. I think you put this PIP out there to cover your own, so that when this lawsuit would inevitably hit, you would be able to say, oh no, but this was actually a performance issue. HR has spent the last 2 weeks working with this employee's direct manager on what this PIP should say. They've walked through all the performance deficiencies, what needs to change, how it needs to change. They've dotted their I's, they've crossed their T's, and they're ready to roll this out. So they do. The employee gets hit with this PIP, and they're like, I don't even know what this means. What do you mean I have to improve my attitude? What is that? They need to collaborate better with colleagues. They need to be more responsive. HR was writing that, and they're like, yeah, this is all 100% true. The employee reading that is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. How do I fix this? Hey there, my name's Alex Castro. I'm a labor and employment attorney with AXC Legal based out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Everything that we're gonna talk about today, it's not legal advice. It's just general information on what a PIP or a performance improvement plan is, how to make sure you've actually got a good workable one, how to make sure a company can issue one properly, and if you're on the receiving end of one, what you can do about it so that you know how you can actually come off of a PIP with confidence. A PIP or a performance improvement plan is supposed to do two things. One, it's to give the employee an actual workable plan on improvement. And two, it's supposed to serve as a documentation, as the last step in a paper trail of performance issues that this employee has had and how we've tried to resolve them, and we just haven't gotten there, so we need to kind of give like this one last final written warning, essentially. PIPs have a bad rap out there these days, and with a lot of good reason. A lot of folks know that once a PIP hits your desk, it's the beginning of the end. A decision has been made. This is just somebody doing their paper trail to cover themselves. That people don't really come off of PIPs, that it's really just kind of like a last second formal documentation of these issues that maybe you've talked about or maybe you haven't. And the company's just doing this to be able to say, no, we had these issues longstanding. Here's the documentation that shows it. But at a minimum, there should at least be a long paper trail of emails, notes, indicating that these are actual real problems and have been for a while. And if your only documentation on an employee's performance issues is just the PIP, it might look a little desperate. Why is it that the only piece of documentation that we have on this performance issue is essentially the nuclear bomb of the PIP? That matters because in discrimination, retaliation type lawsuits, pretext is one of the things that an employee is always trying to prove. They're trying to say, I wasn't actually fired for these performance reasons. I was fired because of my protected complaints or because I'm involved in this protected class. And when an employer can only show that nuclear bomb of a PIP in defense, you're actually going to also have to answer in both a court of law and what feels like a court of public opinion why this is all there is. And quite often, a PIP is just a justification after the fact. A lot of companies issue a PIP having full well made that decision already. And if a plaintiff's attorney can show that that decision to terminate was already made before the PIP was issued, then your company's going to look all the worse for it. It's going to look like you were just putting out something. It's actually just going to look like a cover-up. Your PIP also needs to be actionable. So many PIPs have all this vague language about collaboration, improving attitude, but how do you do that? Nobody even really knows what that means. So if you're going to use this type of language in your PIPs, you need to at least come back with some examples and say, this happened on X, Y, or Z date, and you said A, B, C, and this is why it was problematic. So that at least you can say this actually was an issue, not just some conjured up last minute reason that you said to make it sound like this has been a long-standing issue and therefore we're getting rid of you if you don't improve on it. Because often bad attitude can mean we just didn't like this person. And we didn't like this person can often be we didn't like you because of what comes after that period. Inconsistency kills companies' cases all the time. If you have two people who have had similar issues, but only one of them, somebody's going to point to that and say, you don't actually care about these things, do you, company? Because that person over there didn't get in trouble for this. But why is this person getting in trouble for it? For an executive who receives a PIP, that first day or two after receiving it are absolutely critical. A PIP, believe it or not, is actually kind of negotiable. Let's say you get this PIP. You probably don't agree with half of it. That's okay. But let's say you're not even really sure what you can do about these things. You can ask. You can get that additional clarity. And a good HR department, a good company is going to cooperate with you on that. Because you can imagine how bad it looks if they are not cooperating with you and giving you clarity on how to come off of a PIP. You need to think about what exactly you want to happen at the end of this. Some people may prefer to just start looking for another job and to leave. Other people may actually want to try to play ball with the PIP and come off of it, but you can only do that with some clarity, with some understanding on what the problem is and what the company is expecting of you to resolve it. And if anything that we've talked about today sounds familiar, sounds like an issue that you're thinking is coming on the horizon, Click the link below to schedule a consultation with me.